Rome did not fall in a single battle. It fractured slowly beneath cheering crowds under marble arches, while families ate lunch and watched people die. In the year 177 AD, a teenage slave girl was pushed through the underground corridors of a Roman arena. Her name was Blandina. She was small, sickly, and legally invisible. Above her, tens of thousands of spectators waited for the show to begin. What happened to her over the next several days would echo far beyond her death and quietly help unravel the moral authority of the Roman world. But Blandina's story is only one thread in something far larger, something history classes almost never explain, because the Colosseum was not just a place of gladiators, it was a system, and women were at the center of its darkest function. When we imagine Roman games, we picture armored fighters and roaring lions. Museums show helmets. Textbooks talk about honor, discipline, and spectacle. What they rarely explain is what happened before the main events began, while the crowd was still settling in. Rome's population at its height was built on slavery. Tens of millions of enslaved people across the empire, prisoners of war, kidnapped civilians, criminals by Roman definition, many of them women, beneath the arena floor were holding chambers. Cold stone rooms, not preparation areas for gladiators, but containment cells for captives. Archaeological layouts confirm this, and Roman legal texts explain why. Roman law classified certain people as infames, those stripped of honor and protection. Once labeled, the state could use their bodies as it wished. This was not lawlessness, it was procedure. Before the sword fights and animal hunts, the arena hosted what officials called preliminary displays. To the crowd, it was entertainment. To the victims, it was a sentence worse than execution. Ancient writers hint at it. They rarely describe it directly, not because it didn't happen, but because it was considered normal. One Roman citizen, restoring part of the arena centuries later, carved a message into stone that survived collapse and rebuilding. 6 words asking the god of war for forgiveness. That alone should stop us. Why would a Roman, raised on conquest and public death, feel compelled to apologize to Mars? Because even by Roman standards, some things were difficult to witness. Early Christian writers like Tertullian describe attending the games and watching women brought forward as part of the spectacle, not as combatants, not as criminals being swiftly executed, but as rewards, punishments, and symbolic offerings. This was regulated, scheduled. Officials oversaw it. It was written into festival calendars. And when someone resisted, Rome escalated. There was a legal category for executions designed to terrify, condemnation to beasts. But this did not mean random animals released in chaos. Rome preferred theater. The empire was obsessed with myth, gods punishing mortals, heroes suffering eternal consequences. So officials merged mythology with punishment. Real people were forced to reenact legends, and the violence was real. Poets like Martial praised these performances. Historians like Josephus confirmed they were fatal. Underground machinery lifted victims, animals, and scenery with precise timing. This was industrialized cruelty, engineered for maximum spectacle. Animals were trained, manuals existed. The goal was not a quick death. It was endurance. One account describes a woman dressed as a figure from Greek legend, restrained in the arena while the crowd watched her fate unfold as if it were divine justice instead of state violence. Rome called this culture, but something began to change when victims stopped behaving as expected. Blandina was one of them. She was arrested not for violence, but belief. Christianity was illegal. Refusal to renounce it made her a criminal. Along with others, she was brought before the games. According to multiple independent sources, the animals released against her refused to attack. This wasn't unheard of, but it unsettled the crowd. Superstition mattered in Rome. When officials attempted to proceed with another form of punishment, something unprecedented happened. A gladiator refused to participate, then another. These men were enslaved themselves, trained to obey. Their refusal disrupted the entire logic of the games. Rome depended on the arena to demonstrate control over enemies, over slaves, over fate itself. That illusion cracked when the system revealed that even its executioners were unwilling. Blandina was eventually killed, brutally, publicly, but the damage was done. Letters describing her endurance spread rapidly through Christian communities, copied, preserved, shared. Rome's attempt to terrorize instead created documentation. Some of the most detailed records we have from the period. Centuries later, archaeology would reopen the wound. In 2019, during structural work near the eastern foundations of the Colosseum, a hidden chamber was uncovered. Inside were human remains, exclusively female. The trauma patterns told a story no inscription ever could. These women had been kept alive, injured, healed, restrained. Their bones showed repeated harm, not single executions. Their diets shifted dramatically near death, consistent with ritual preparation. Some were extremely young, and several showed signs of pregnancy. The excavation was halted, access restricted. The findings briefly made international news, and then faded. One skeleton was found clutching a small carved object, a symbol forbidden at the time, a cross. That woman died holding it. The arena was never just about death. It was about power, about teaching the population who mattered and who did not. But the system failed. By the 4th century, the cost of the games was unsustainable. Slaves were fewer. Public sentiment was shifting. Christianity, once persecuted in the arena, now shaped imperial policy. Executions ended. The games stopped. The Colosseum fell silent. Rome did not collapse overnight, but morally, it had already hollowed itself out beneath the applause. The women who suffered there were meant to be forgotten. Instead, their stories survived, copied by those Rome tried to erase. And that may be the greatest irony of all. The arena built to display eternal Roman power became evidence of why that power could not last. History remembers emperors, but empires fall because of what they do to the powerless. And the stones of Rome still remember.